It is time for another Castlevania adventure in Nocturnal Emissions.
One of the first things we ever did.
So, excuse me, you missed that. Nocturne. Jesus, guy. Anyway, we all experienced Nocturnal Emissions. And I can't tell you how excited I was, A, that this was out. Because I really did enjoy the Castlevania series.
Both of us did.
Can I tell you? This one was better.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, I could have used 2 more episodes.
Yeah,
I think they just cranked it out and smacked it on its ass and sent it right back out. 8 episodes of a half hour, 20 minutes, whatever. Very short, but my God, it opens up with action right away. You see a Belmont, like you know those familiar names are all there.
Yeah.
And you know what they're there to do. They just kill vampires.
So immediately when I started this, I thought of D&D. It feels like a D&D campaign.
Is that because we've been doing Baldur's Gate 3 and you got that D&D vibe?
Maybe because it's in my brain, but also because it felt just like a campaign where there's like a party, they're already established. Instead of like the formation of it, they're like mid-mission of this thing.
Well, yeah, because you have Richter, who is the warrior, fighter, we'll say.
Even the dynamic between who they have together. Richter, Maria,
Annette, and
the
Edouard.
Abilities they have,
Yeah,
how
which
they
is
like
nothing.
play off of one another.
No, I love Annette's like her power and where it came from, like the Creole, like island whole thing. I really liked her character a lot. And I think, honestly, with very limited character development, we knew a lot about them.
So they use in the show the method of storytelling where in the middle of the story they tell you a bunch of backstory.
And I like it that way. That's the way I like it.
It depends on how it's done. I don't dislike it. The way they did do it, I feel like there were instances where it took away from the action a little bit too long.
Oh yeah, I think that's where there was where the more episodes would come into
It's the
play.
potential downside, exactly.
Yeah.
If we got a little bit more episodes, it wouldn't have felt so jarring. But it felt like a lot of the story was just telling us who they were. When
to
you
quickly speed us up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was done pretty well.
There was a dumb part that I wanted to see if you felt the same.
Okay.
When Annette and Edouard showed up and they were going to the Marquis's house, to the vampires, and they're literally standing in the front yard, not thinking they're going to be seen by the night creatures that live there, who, vampires are probably heightened sense,
Failed
smell.
sneak mission.
And they're just standing there like,
Yeah, failed sneak mission.
yeah.
No one thought this through.
And she's conjuring earth. Oh, calm down. They're going to see us.
So I'll tell
now they see everything.
The a couple things I didn't like about the show, before I get into the things I did really like, is the French Revolution was an extremely bloody piece of history. And I felt
I think we're at the beginning of it, right?
They didn't really portray a lot of like the brutality of it very well. There were instances when they did, and then they kind of like the city's not dirty. There's not like everything's in despair and muck and torn. Everyone when they're like side characters or
because
like
we weren't really
people
there,
passing
though.
by. That was one of the main plot points. Was
but we didn't see the town a lot because Maria's house was out in the woods.
that was the base, the center of operations.
Yeah, and then
basically,
you went to the mansion house, which would have always been beautiful.
I would have appreciated a little bit more of a grim, dark.
You mean like more
version
episodes try to peel into the city and more of the revolution?
of the revolution.
I mean, but that's not the story, though. The story is not the revolution; it's the story of the vampires.
And I don't know why
are
we also
taking
threw slavery into this. While
I think it was. I think that was because
hold
at
on,
the
let me
same
explain
time.
it real quick, because it felt like it was too much going on at once. It was the revolution that was going on, but then all of Annette and everything that came from Annette and her backstory, pulling that through to the story, while then putting it all together in 8 episodes. I feel like because it was 8 episodes,
that did its disservice.
Yeah, it did. It did. Like it felt.
Was
to
Annette
me,
a necessary character? I don't think so, but I
it's the
think
love interest of Richter. So.
Oh, is that, I mean, obviously you saw a spark of it, but
It'll develop in seasons 2, 3, and however many.
well, I did not expect it to roll in to have a season 2. I thought this was going to be a cut and dry end of
it's
story.
in a series, yeah.
Oh no, absolutely.
It already got
Obviously, we know without trying to there will be another season.
Absolutely.
Like the way they ended it, I thought was great.
The best part of the show was in the past 10 seconds.
Yes.
That was it was the most hype moment.
Wait a minute.
I was asking the whole season, is he coming? Is he coming?
Oh, really?
Is he coming now?
I was not,
And-
because I just assumed we were so far removed.
Oh no. Vampires live forever.
And yes, that didn't click in my brain at first, but then you had Annette. I think it was Annette who asked, "Who's Dracula?" I said, "Bitch, what?"
I love that as like a
Because
how
she
some
obviously
shows
wasn't over on that side of the town.
they give like nuggets to the audience,
Right.
Like we know you came from Dracula. Here's someone
Yeah.
like hundreds of years later going, who was that?
And you haven't heard of Dracula?
Yeah.
But they did wrap in with, like, her plantation owner and slave master being a vampire.
They did tie that thread, which
Her back pass having the connection to, like, the god, and, like, I loved when she was talking in, like, the Creole and stuff. And
her abilities were
Baba
badass.
Legba. And she was doing, yeah, it's so cool. Like, I thought that was a unique ability. Like, you've seen Conjuring and stuff, but it's her god that, like, powers her is of ore and earth.
So the show gets a lot of hate.
Really?
There's so how as much as things are actually bad, there's also a contingency on the internet where
Everyone
we
has
have
to hate everything. Yeah, no one can enjoy anything anymore
is a
because of the
left-wing
internet.
conspiracy to take over your mind, and like it's just anti-religion, anti-white, anti all these things, and they're jamming it down your throat, and like their gayness and like all these things. Like,
look, I will say,
it's like just shut the fuck up.
I think I've brought this up before in previous things before. Like, I don't care what anybody is, but I don't need it to be necessarily. I did not need Old Rock's and Mizrak's love. I liked them both Nightwolf and Mizrak. I enjoyed them, but they didn't need to be together. That just seemed like it was an extra. It was the sprinkles on the ice cream that you didn't need.
So, do you remember in the first episode of the first series, Dracula was introduced and he unleashed night creatures upon the whole city?
Correct.
One episode. The main antagonist of this season, Esbrit, I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Urzabet.
Urzabet
is the main.
We didn't get her until like 10 minutes of the whole season.
I think that was because you wanted to build up because
didn't like it.
What I didn't want is her Urzabet, the one who is tortured time, and she is a living god, like because she drank the blood of the Egyptian goddess and all that jam. But I think the holding out and the edging that they were doing for us, since we were just speaking about that, makes you want it more. And you're sitting there and
just made me frustrated.
It did because and she powered up to like Super Saiyan and she became the god
after she was introduced 10 seconds ago.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because but prior to us recording this, you had brought up that Drolta was
she was the
villain
antagonist of the season.
Correct. And Annette's slave master. I believe he was
a secondary antagonist.
Correct, because he was our groups merged, so we had to get the hate from him and we had to introduce the new things. And Old Rocks too. Don't sleep on that he was I appreciated him by the end.
I'm also not convinced he's actually an antagonist.
He's not. I think
I'm
he's
convinced that Richter's mother killed someone he genuinely loved.
Yep.
And because of that, he enacted revenge on her, and he actually let Richter live when he could have killed him. So that's
multiple
not really
times.
Antagonist type behavior.
And I would say, what do they call like the Punisher, an anti-hero? Old Rocks, I would say he's because he's not out for good or for bad. He's out for himself.
That's right. And his lovers, apparently.
And correct. Yeah. And I'm glad I liked Mizrak. I'm glad
I actually did too.
He did save him because I think he's the honest, truthful. He's literally he understands what the church is for.
Yep.
He understands and the whole time this is gold. That's all I kept thinking about was from the first Castlevania the whole time. And
yeah, it's so true.
He represented that structure because the abbot let them down. And I love the formations of night creatures. I think that's just a neat concept.
Yep.
I want Old Rocks to stay around because I think he understands that Urzabet will be a big problem for the vampires because you have to bend the knee. And he doesn't do that kind of thing. And yet she was talking to him about like overtaking America, essentially. Taking it back because he was a native inhabitant.
Yeah.
And I like that story. Also, there's another storyline we're just packing in these 8 20-minute episodes. And he's a dragon vampire.
I also don't like the fact that we didn't get any inkling as to how he is a dragon, why he's a dragon, the history of dragons.
A little bit I would like that, and like because
the season Urzabet
even referenced it.
It was too short, period.
Maybe this was a test run to see you say it's catching flack for superficial bullshit.
It is a lot.
which I find stupid. Just watch the show. Did you enjoy it? I believe I had it up. It has like a 7.7 on IMDb.
Yeah, the audience score is a lot lower than the critic score. The critic
Really?
score is very good, actually.
What is with people?
There's a lot of people
not
that,
just enjoying the shows.
It's a lot of the hate it gets is because of a lot of people are tired of the, oh, hey, look, religion's the bad guy. Christianity's the bad guy. When Christianity, of all the religions, if we're being honest, is probably the most mild of the possible choices you have to pick from as far as like the rules and regulations of that.
We
said
for
religion.
sure could have a video about my points and thoughts about that whole subject.
But
because
that was one thing.
Organized religion is the villain of this earth.
Anytime that slavery's brought in, it's the white hate, the white guilt.
Okay.
It's that angle when apparently Annette was not black in the source material. They edited her to be black. So they changed that. So a lot of the people, and I do understand when the fan base of a source material is like, why did you change the thing that didn't need to be changed to then try to tell me, remember this thing that was really bad that happened? So then they're looking at that hypercritically.
Look, I do.
And they're saying,
I understand.
Don't stop throwing this down my throat. I don't need this anymore.
I didn't know, honestly, I didn't know, obviously the source material existed, but I've never seen a page of it. Games of it, sure,
so
whatever.
The other thing a lot of people hated was the Abbot and how superficial his character was, and the fact that he was supposed to be a forged master, except he needed the alliance with the vampires. But if he had the power to have the ability to make night creatures, he could have combated the vampires himself, and he never needed the alliance.
Valid point, sir.
A lot of people
you make demons, but you need vampires.
Exactly.
You
don't.
A
lot of people poked holes in that plot line.
And he was a terrible priest or whatever he is because he had a father.
He was, I'm trying to think.
So
Richter was a crybaby. Everyone cried in every scene. I'm trying to remember a lot of the things people hated. But for some reason, though, if you could just turn your cynic brain off for a minute, there was so much to enjoy this season.
Even if that you throw in all that information, I'm like, that was still a good show.
I like Richter as a character. I like
he's young. He's 19.
That he is like this really bold, really strong protagonist, except he has this one weakness, which is fear of Aurochs.
And he fixed that.
And he fixed it in the season.
So we saw that all full circle.
I remember one more.
Okay.
The grandfather that swoops in that had no lead up to who he was. He just came in at the right time, and I'm your grandfather, and I'm going to help you overcome this thing you're dealing with right now. And then, after it's over, I'm fucking off, and I'll never be seen for him again.
Yeah, I agree. That was useless.
Yeah.
What was his name? Juke or Juiced? Juiced Belmont.
Very capable Belmont.
But yes, convenient that he walked in the bar, needed food, the grandfather paid. Like, what?
They went through a training arc, like
that whole episode, we could just redo that whole thing.
Can we just get rid of that, and then he just has like an epiphany mentally himself?
Or even with the help of everyone else.
Maybe he's sleeping and his mom comes to him in a dream, and she's like, listen, it really is okay.
I would have took him in a net sex scene, because that opened his mind. Like, anything, guys.
Once you go black, you don't go back. He's like, son of a bitch, I'm not afraid anymore.
It's been this whole time. No, I just feel like, Ed Wall's character was neat, but not necessary. He was a body to kill.
No, he was the reminder that every night creature is a human with a soul still trapped. And they're used, and it's shining a light on the fact that they haven't lost their humanity yet. And some of them have the ability to still gain consciousness and the ability to think on their own. It might come to play later on in the series.
I like that, because obviously he's going to come back because he's not dead.
Correct, yeah.
I will say,
when he was first created, I thought he was going to be the antagonist, and I was so ready for that.
He was pretty wicked looking.
Yeah.
And he's a terrible singer. Okay.
Actually, it wasn't that bad. It was only played for like an hour and a half of the whole 2-hour runtime of the show.
Yeah, he sung the entire time.
Yes,
while he was a demon.
One thing that no one on Earth can deny is the animation. My God, it was so beautiful to look at.
It was better than Castlevania's, like the original.
100%. You could see the Japanese influence in this animation, and some people don't like that. I'm here for it.
Because it's not anime. It is American animation.
This is anime. Castlevania is an anime.
You can tell that to the subreddits, but they'll tell you,
No, it was a very good season.
It was 100%.
For all the faults I had with it, I still enjoyed it thoroughly. And the last 10 seconds, I was like, "Well, son of a bitch, I have to actually wait for season 2 now because oh my god."
Like I said, I was not prepped for a season. It
was
2.
incredible.
I was prepping for it to finish up and Elizabeth get beat in 30 seconds because one little whoosh out of it, and then she's just bursting the flames. But she's going to be pretty handily beat.
Ready
here.
to give this thing a review?
Well, yeah, I am.
3, 2, 1.
Ooh.
Even with the flaws, I enjoyed this so much. It just scratched whatever it is in me that likes. First of all, the thing I liked about it the most, the reason why I gave it an A was it just leaned into the horror element and despair element of like reality with vampires, where humans are literally drained like cattle. They are walked in chains behind the vampires, and they literally just grab them randomly, suck them dry full of their blood, then throw them back in their cage, and then in about 20 minutes you come back over here.
Were you aroused at all?
Like
watching Elizabeth get that one?
No. But it was like the despair and the horror of the reality of a lot of people that would face in this reality.
Because if you have something good to eat, you savor it.
They
Don't
treat
drain
us
it dry
like we do cattle and
the poor piggies.
Yeah, and exactly, and pigs and all livestock that we eat. That's exactly how we treat them. Except now, when this thing does this to humans, it's like, wow, yeah. And I love the horror element of it. I really, really did.
Yes.
And that paired with like the banter and the dialogue between the characters, even though the development of them wasn't very much, except for Richter getting his magic back and Annette getting over some
after
of her
Granddad
past.
comes and helps him out.
Yeah, for the 10 seconds. It doesn't matter. For some reason, I just really love this. The last minute went from a B to an A.
So it
was a B until Homeboy showed up.
Okay,
and it was
give you
it's
that.
an A.
It was very entertaining.
It really
I
was.
thoroughly enjoyed it. I would rewatch it. I think Richter was a great character. I enjoyed the character.
He's no Trevor, but you know.
Correct. So, but he is a watered down version, which you would assume that happened to generations. It would water down. Maria, she was okay,
She was like a Sypha.
but not.
Yeah.
She was kind of
A lot of
weak
the same.
Her ability was weird.
Oh my
Annette,
God.
I liked. Edouard, I did not. I think 8 episodes gave it the issue.
It was a disservice.
The throwing of too many storylines. I don't care about bringing Annette and Edouard over, but like maybe not having that background if you were only going to give it 45 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
And then the one who has tormented her entire life, she just beat with some iron bars that were crossed like this and surrounded. She's not holy in the aspect of the church, so I believe that building the constructs of the cross out of that shouldn't have made him die that easy, because he's been living forever. He's been branded by the chosen one. He's been doing all this, and like that story was a bit rushed. The church was messy. I think like the grandfather, we joke about that. The grandfather just roll him in, but he's been following him his whole life. Once he got back to France, okay.
Tara was holding him at his request.
I got that.
Yeah,
I got that.
And
Tara
made
was
a
cool,
promise
like,
that she'd never say anything.
Tara, that dirty slut, having the kid with the priest.
And as far as the slave master goes, it's his. It has nothing to do with the caster of the crosses. It has everything to do with vampires and their disadvantage
hate towards
exactly.
Christian faith.
It has everything to do against religion and vampires, and nothing to do with.
But
the
I didn't really
caster.
need him in though. Didn't need him.
It was the plot thread that connected Annette to the main story.
Yes, but that's fine. We knew it. He could have came at a later time. I know all the vampires were getting gathered at this point, but I don't know. I just.
We're going to side with you on this and give it a B, because I'm going to.
You admitted to the fanboy.
From a B to an A.
Yeah.
When the last 10 seconds, it went from a B to an A for me. So we'll give it a B.
Yeah, correct.
Because
right.
that's
Did you jump to an
probably
A because of the possibility of what's to come?
No, because I know now he's the main character moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm like, Richter can't hold the show on his own. I think
No.
Homeboy can. So
and this group is going to be quite the intimidating force to come right.
So we'll
now,
give it a B.
Elizabeth's going to be a nasty thing.
And I am very excited that it got renewed as fast as it did.
Oh, I didn't know that. It did?
It did.
Fantastic.
So we will have a season 2, and I do believe it will go up from here after we got a lot of the
This was a
season
test.
1 stuff out of the way.
Yes, we
we're
had to
now
build
going to get into
the backstories.
really deep part of the story here.
We have night creatures
who
that
knows?
have an ability that can free think.
Yep.
And you can see that happening when the one killed the other one.
By the way, they hinted at this in the first series.
Do you know, I have a terrible issue with literally memory dumping about 90% of shows that I've watched.
Yeah.
It
was high
because there's other things I've seen, and we watched Jujutsu Kaisen. Some of it, that zero, which I have not going back and watch, gone like it never happened.
And I can retain everything.
You tell me about it every time we shoot that video.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly fine. And that's what we're looking forward to next is more Jujutsu Kaisen. But if you enjoyed Castlevania Nocturne, please give us a like, subscribe, and we will catch you on the next video.
See ya.